Good evening. It's been a while since we've done a video update, and I wanted to reach out today with some thoughts and information. We're now in our 8th week of physical distancing, and we remain anxious about our health and well-being and about our jobs and the economy. As your mayor, there's nothing more important to me than the health and safety of Gresham residents. And as a local small business owner, I profoundly understand what the economic interruption has meant for local businesses and the employees and families that they support. Businesses plan for seasonal ebbs and flows, but nobody is structured to weather a health pandemic. So the anxiety is very real and in many cases feels existentially threatening. As it relates to the health crisis, we are now seeing zip code level data from the state of Oregon, which shows the Gresham area zip codes have been relatively hard hit in recent weeks. The Oregonian reported yesterday that 6 zip codes in East Portland, Gresham, and Troutdale added a combined 86 cases since last week, an increase of 22%. We are monitoring this closely, and we are working to schedule a health expert to join us for a video later this week to walk through the potential causes for the uptick and the actions that we can take collectively. As it relates to the economic crisis at hand, I have earnestly listened to every word coming from the state of Oregon and Governor Brown as it relates to reopening. For what it's worth, we're not privy to any more specific information at the city level than you are receiving in the press conferences. So we're working to decipher what we hear just as you are. As I understand it, counties were able to submit reopening plans to the state for consideration starting on Friday. Those plans will depend on the counties meeting specific thresholds and benchmarks in stemming COVID-19 transmissions. I am in regular contact with our county chair, Deborah Kafori, to understand what that will mean for Multnomah County, since the metro area has been harder hit than many other areas of Oregon. In a nutshell, it is likely that Multnomah and Washington Counties will lag at least a little bit behind the more rural counties, many of which have now submitted plans seeking state approval to partially reopen. When the time comes, hopefully soon, Phase 1 reopening also will come with some restrictions, so you'll want to read up on those. We've added a link to the state's information and reopening criteria on our webpage at GreshamOregon.gov/COVID-19. And sadly, last week, the governor also announced what we all likely suspected would be the case. Large events are canceled for the summer. That means no arts festival in Gresham this July, unfortunately. No Music Mondays this year as well. We will certainly miss our events greatly, but I promise that we will make it up on the other end of this when we can safely get together as a community and celebrate. I want to applaud our collective efforts to flatten the curve. I know that these efforts have come at a great sacrifice for many of our families. There's no question that you have saved lives and you've saved medical professionals in our community from having to make tragic decisions about who receives life-saving care and who does not, as they've had to do elsewhere in the world. Those efforts, aimed at not overwhelming the medical system, have been successful so far, so it is prudent to work through the challenging details and scenarios necessary to safely reopen as much of the economy as possible. We know that previous pandemics have brought multiple waves, so continued vigilance will be critical. Finally, while I am beyond eager, desperate to get our families wage earning again and the economy working, I am also incredibly disheartened by the widespread of misinformation that is circulating on the web. In normal times, it is already incredibly difficult to parse the validity of these materials, but in these unprecedented circumstances, it is even more challenging than usual. I have found it useful as we navigate so many unknown factors to operate with a simple, timeless principle in mind. What is the best way for us to be loving neighbors to those in our midst? To the greatest extent possible, try and cut out the noise. Refuse to take the bait from those elements who would seek to divide you from your neighbors on political, cultural, or economic grounds. The most coveted real estate in the world is the 6 inches of space between your ears. Protect it vigilantly right now, because there are a lot of forces that are trying to capitalize on our fears, anxieties, and our anger over desperate circumstances to weaken our collective resolve and our regard for one another. And if they succeed, this pandemic will not only compromise our health, but it will compromise our social contract, the fragile foundation of which makes us a republic. The other alternative is to come through this more together, stronger, having faced a formidable collective foe and proven that nothing is bigger than the American experiment as manifested at the local level. I pledge at the beginning of this crisis to let you know what I know and to keep you updated regularly. we'll keep doing that. As I mentioned, it is my strong hope to have a local health expert here later this week to talk about what's happening in some of our zip codes. In the meantime, I miss seeing you all regularly. I pray for you daily. I pray for your health and safety, and take care, and God bless.